righty. You may proceed, Janine.
Good evening. I'm Janine Wester, President of Empower Her of the Palm Beaches, and welcome to the When We All Vote Palm Beach County Voting Squad Candidates Forum. Tonight's forum, we will focus on the following races: County Commissioner, District 1, Port of Palm Beach Commission, Group 2, Port of Palm Beach Commission, Group 3, and our Supervisor of Elections. When We All Vote nationally is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization with a mission to increase participation in every election by changing the culture around voting, harnessing grassroots energy, and with the hopes of strategic partnerships reaching every American. Michelle Obama, Tom Hanks, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Janelle Monáe, Chris Paul, Faith Hill, and Tim McGraw launched this campaign in 2018. The Palm Beach County Voting Squad is comprised of more than 35 local nonprofit organizations standing by the mission to increase participation in elections and close the voting gap of race and age. To ensure the citizens of Palm Beach County are ready, we will host forums over the next few weeks to highlight candidates in local and national races that affect Palm Beach County. Okay, enough of me rattling. Let's move on to the excitement. Robin.
Thank you, Janine. Good evening. I am Robin Lawrence, member of the West Palm Beach Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta. And this evening, I have the honor of introducing our moderator, Ms. Mary Jane Range. Ms. Range is a former board member and past chair of the League of Women Voters Speakers Bureau and Candidate Forums. Prior to her retirement, Mary Jane was a corporate banking vice president at Citibank. During her 32-year career with Citibank, she lived and worked across the world in New York, London, Mumbai, Singapore, and Hong Kong. Mary Jane is a frequent speaker and author. She has been quoted in the New York Times, Chief Executive Magazine, and the Daily Deal. Additionally, she has appeared on PBS's Frontline, Style and Power, and CNN. On behalf of the League, she has been a featured speaker for numerous organizations. Ms. Range holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from New York University, an MBA from the Yale School of Management, and an MA from King's College in London. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Mary Jane Range.
Thank you so much, Robin. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful candidate forum tonight. As Janine said, we are going to be listening to 3 races: the Supervisor of Elections, County Commissioners District 1, and 2 seats for the Port of Palm Beach. And now to the rules, because we know there are rules for everything. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. All candidates in a race will then be asked the same question. They can, of course, choose not to answer, but if they choose to, their responses will be 1 minute for each question. We will accept in the chat room questions from the audience, but those questions must be constructed so that each candidate can answer them. You cannot direct a question to a specific candidate. And the questions are being vetted by our team. At the conclusion of all the questions, each candidate will have 1 minute for a closing statement. Now, for your opening statement, for the responses to the questions, and for the closing statements, the timer will inform you when the time has expired. And we will ask you to please stop at that point. Otherwise, I'll interrupt you. We will now begin the first forum, which will be for the Supervisor of Elections. Let me just review a little bit about the role. The Supervisor of Elections serves 4-year terms and is elected countywide. and is not subject to term limits. The Supervisor of Elections has the responsibility to administer elections and all voter registration. The salary is $171,525 per year. This race is known as a universal primary in that there is no opposition in the November election. Therefore, whomever wins the primary election is the winner, and this race will not appear on the November elections. The candidates tonight are Wendy Sartori-Link, the incumbent, and Paulette Armstead. We are now ready to start the opening statements. Ms. Armstead, if you're ready, you will have 2 minutes for your opening statement. She is muted.
Now?
Yes, you're fine.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for putting this on. Let me just start with a little of my personal background. I was born and raised in Florida. For the past 30 years, I've been a resident of Palm Beach County. My party affiliation is Democrat. I'm a lifelong Democrat. And consequently, I'm a member of several Democratic clubs. And I'm also a member of the League of Women Voters, where I am a member of the voter services team, passionate about registering voters. And prior to COVID-19, every month we were at the naturalization ceremonies where we registered hundreds of new citizens. So that's one area that I'm passionate about. A little about my educational background. I do have 4 college degrees, including a law degree from Florida State University. As for my work experience, I've worked as a sworn police officer and then as Deputy Chief of Police for the city of St. Petersburg, where we had an agency of over 600 people. As a member of the executive team, I was involved in the day-to-day operation of the police department, training officers, writing policies, involved in community outreach, community education, that kind of thing. And after I left the police department for the past 30 years, I have had my own private practice where I practice law, protecting the rights and property of senior citizens against abuse, exploitation, and neglect. So why am I running? I'm running so that I can use my law enforcement experience, my management skills, my legal training to really fight against some things that the voters are all concerned about. Voter suppression. And we look to see what happened in our March 17th presidential primary. And I want to protect against things like that. On early voting days, we know that our early voting days were reduced. The maximum is 14. Wendy Link gave us 9 days. As for hours, the maximum hours would be 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Wendy gave us 10 to 6 p.m. The problem is that affected people.
Ms. Armstead, your time is up. I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Link, your opening statement for 2 minutes, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. A little bit of my background, born and raised in Palm Beach County, went to public schools here. And then after I moved to North Carolina for school, college and law school, I went to Duke Law School, UNC undergrad, then lived in Los Angeles for 5 years where I practiced for a large law firm there, and then moved back to Palm Beach County, which is my home. I've got raised 3 children here and very passionate about our community and wanting it to be the best that it can be. I've been involved in a lot of civic organizations, as well as had a very successful law practice here, and had the opportunity just about 18 months ago when I was asked to become the Supervisor of Elections and took on that role. Since we've been here, we've made a lot of changes and improvements to the office and are bringing it really into the new timing and new era of trying to make sure that we have the best equipment that's available, that we have the best processes and procedures. I have a lot of experience with not only management, but also with budgets, and we are managing our budget here. And, you know, it'd be really easy to do a lot of great things if you have an unlimited budget. When you have a limited budget, as we all do, then you know, we do it, we make choices. And I think that the choices we've made have been very good choices. They've been informed choices. And we've worked very closely with the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and I've actually even met with the Green Party. So we're trying to be very inclusive in the decisions that we make. So we have improved, vote by mail has significantly increased. We've been focused on COVID. We've been focused on cybersecurity and trying to make sure that we are absolutely the best prepared we can be coming into this election. So I would look forward to your questions and answering them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're ready to move now to questions. The first question, and we'll start, Ms. Link, the first question. What can or should be done by someone in the role of Supervisor of Elections to ensure a fair and equitable election for all without voter suppressions, specifically within the Black and minority communities? You have 1 minute for your response.
Thank you. So yes, we do want to have everything available to all. And to the extent that we have minority communities, particularly who have difficulty getting to the polls, we want to make sure that everything that we can do for them is to make it easy for them to vote. One of the first things I did when I got into office was to ask for prepaid postage on the return ballots. That had never been done in our county before. I made that request. So we do currently have prepaid return postage for all of our ballots. We've also immediately increased the number of early voting sites. So for the March election, we had 3 additional early voting sites. I had met with both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and asked, would more days be more valuable or more sites, and was told more sites. We then added 2 more sites, including one in East Del Rey for the August election. So I think that what we're trying to do is be the most accessible that we can. Sorry, my time is up.
Ms. Armstead, the same question. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, I think I have it. And ways
Thank you.
to ensure more participation in our minority communities. Number
Yes.
1, in the area of registration, my plan is to be very focused and to really target the so-called underrepresented groups. And there are 3 of those. Number 1, there are the millennials, the 18 to 34-year-olds, and there are ethnic minorities, our African Americans, especially our Hispanics. The way I would do that is enter into partnerships with those groups and the leaders of those groups and have some measurable goals. And the other thing I would do to ensure more participation is more voter outreach. Again, partnering with those underrepresented groups, the leaders in those groups, to make certain that the educational programs are done on a regular basis and to have them done in the language of these underrepresented groups like our Hispanics. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to the second question. And Ms. Armstead, that will go to you first. In 2018, Amendment 4 passed in Florida. It was designed to automatically restore the right to vote for people with prior felony convictions, except those convicted of murder or felony sexual offense upon completion of their sentences. What is your position on Amendment 4 and the actions that are being taken to prevent the institution of that amendment?
My position on it is I definitely support it. In fact, I even passed out petitions and got signatures on the petition. So I strongly supported that. Second, the action that has to be taken now, Judge Hinkle really laid out a plan for these returning citizens to vote. Unfortunately, that is on appeal. So I'm hoping that the appellate court will rule in favor of the plan that Judge Hinkle laid out. And once that is done, that is another group that I will target specifically so as to bring them into onto the voters' rolls. So they will be in my target group once all of this is cleared up. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armstead. Ms. Link, same question.
Thank you. So clearly the voters wanted people who had served their time to vote. And I know that there are some technicalities that are out there that's what's causing all of these appeals and this. But I think that we need to look past the technicalities. I would love for the legislature to go in and really say, we know what the people want. This is what's been said over and over again, and we need to move forward. In the meantime, what our office has done and what I have focused on is we're working with the state attorney's office to see how can we in Palm Beach County effectively bring people into votes. So we've been involved in re-entry. We've been involved in re-entry programs where we go out, we do try to get people registered to vote. We are working again also with our public defender's office to make sure that with the public defender's office, that's where we can reach out to people to let them know if they have questions about it. And our office is working very, very hard to make sure that when people come in here to vote, that they are comfortable.
Thank you, Ms. Link.
Thank you.
We're ready to move to the third question, and it will go to you, Ms. Link, first. And here's the question. It is anticipated that there will be a very large number of vote-by-mail ballots. What is your plan for processing these ballots, or what would your plan be if you were Supervisor of Elections?
Thank you. So yes, we already have doubled the number of ballots that we had sent out in March. We've already doubled that to send out for August, and we are receiving them in record numbers. So we are being very aggressive in our processing. We are doing our LNA tomorrow, which allows us to start canvassing on Monday. We have set forth a very aggressive canvassing schedule where we will be opening and processing every single day. The canvassing board will meet 3 times a week in order to stay up to things, so that by the Monday before the election, we will have completely processed everything that is in our office. And we are working double shifts to do that, but that's what we're committed to doing, so that when we do release a tally on election night, the very first tally will include everything that we've received through Monday, and then whatever we actually receive on election day, we'll be processing that day so that it can get out during the day and during the evening that night. So it's really just a matter of doing the extra things you need and being very proactive in planning.
Thank you, Ms. Link. Ms. Armstead, same question.
Yes, my plan vote by mail, there are definitely some threats and challenges to that. The volume is dramatically increasing, and I think the problem is going to come in play with the first time vote by mailers. I think because they're not accustomed to the instructions, they may very well not sign their ballots, and that throws us into the 2-day cure period, the statutory 2-day cure period. So my plan would be to have some extra staff on hand just to deal with that. That's not a long time to cure the ballot. So the other part of my plan is to have adequate staffing on the part of the SOE. That capacity is always a question, whether or not there will be enough people to handle the surge of ballots, because there will be a surge. The other thing that I would do, third thing I would do is I would do more education on disinformation. Unfortunately, a lot of people, primarily President Trump, is putting out a lot of false information and scaring people, talking about the fraud involved with vote by mail. That is not true. So I would have a part of my plan would be an education plan to, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Armstead. I do not see any questions in the chat room from the audience, and so we're going to move to closing statements. And just as a reminder, closing statements are 1 minute, and we'll start with Ms. Armstead, please.
Again, as I said in my opening statement, I really want to use my law enforcement experience, my legal training to deal with the problem, especially with voter suppression, to deal with that so that it does not happen like what happened in our March presidential primary. So of course I would make certain we have increased days. And in voter registration, my plan is to target underrepresented groups with measurable goals to make certain those numbers are increased. And the other thing I would do is definitely a part of my plan would be to improve our vote by mail procedures, early voter procedures, and look at all of those procedures to see how we can make them more fair and how we can reach more people. Another part of my comprehensive plan would be to really look at outreach and voter education programs and community outreach to make certain we partner with the groups so that they can understand the voting process, understand what their voting rights are, and to participate more fully in the process.
Thank you very much, candidates, for your time and for your service. We are now, Ms. Link, your closing statement, 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Wanted to just say thank you for having us here. And I would very much appreciate your support. We have started things. We've changed, we've upgraded our equipment. We've upgraded the cybersecurity. We've upgraded the registration process. We have upgraded our website. We've done a lot to make things far more transparent than they've ever been before. You can do so much more on our website than you ever could do before. You can track early voting waiting times. You can track your ballots. You can actually see the actual voter turnout on election day and throughout early voting right from our website. So a lot of the information we have, we're getting out to the public. Our outreach, we did over 200 events before the March election. We'd like, obviously that hasn't done as much now. We want to be able to continue that and to be able to work with our schools. And I do believe that the Palm Beach County Elections Office can be the best one for sure in the state. We'll then go for the country, but we need a little bit more time to do that. And so I ask for your support to allow me that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are now going to move on to the race for Palm Beach County Commissioner Seat 1. Everybody ready?
Yes, you can.
Okay. The next set of candidates have qualified for the Palm Beach County Commissioner Seat 1. Before introducing those candidates, we'll have another little civics review here, and we'll review the role of the county commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners serves as the legitimate and policy-setting body for the county government. It enacts county-wide laws and authorizes programs and all expenditures of county funds. They also act as the Child Care Facilities Board, the Solid Waste Authority Governing Board, the Environmental Control Board, and the zoning. 7 commissioners are elected from single-member districts in staggered 4-year terms. District 1 represents the northern communities of Palm Beach County. The annual salary is $101,006. For District 1, the candidates are Commissioner Karen Marcus, Councilwoman Maria Marino, and Mr. Calvin Turnquest. The rules remain the same. I'll just remind you, 2 minutes for opening statements, 1 minute response for each question, should you choose to respond, and 1 minute for closing statements. So we'll start with opening statements, and we'll begin with Commissioner Marcus, please.
Karen, you're muted.
I can't.
Thank you. I apologize for the delay. I had to change locations to be able to get on the program. My name is Karen Marcus.
Okay.
Thank you. And just a little about myself. I am a native Floridian, born in Key West, moved to Palm Beach County when I was 5, a product of all the local schools here locally. I have 3 daughters and I have 8 grandkids. I previously served on the commission for 28 years. I retired. I joined several boards when I retired, Loggerhead Marine Life Center, Maltz Theater, Abacoa POA, several others. And I started my own not-for-profit called Sustainable Palm Beach County. We are involved in public policy, water issues, and things like that. I'm running because I was asked to run. I had several neighborhoods. You talked about grassroots earlier. And I have a lot of grassroots neighborhoods who reached out and said, you know, there was a need for some experience on the board, some institutional, some historical on how to get some projects done. There are projects that need to be completed. I would like to see completed. So I agreed and I have filed to run. We need to work on getting the budget settled in after surviving this COVID virus, which we will. I'm very excited about having Scripps Research Institute in Jupiter. We have 2 scientists there working on vaccines and antibodies. So that's very exciting to have them right here in our backyard. I'd like to grow that life science corridor. And I would like to continue to do projects with Loxahatchee River, restoration of the minimum flows and levels, septic to sewer. Once we move out of the COVID crisis, and we get into making sure we don't have a water crisis similar to what they had in Martin and St. Lucie County. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on. Councilwoman Marino, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Actually Vice Mayor, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No worries. My name is Maria Marino. As you can see, I am the current Vice Mayor of the City of Palm Beach Gardens. I am a 4-year elected official, and 2 of those years I also served as mayor. And in that, in my 4 years in office, I have successfully lowered taxes. We have grown the amount of green space in the city of Palm Beach Gardens to over 51%, which when the city of Palm Beach Gardens is 60 square miles, that means we have 30 square miles of green space in the city. We've taken the opportunity to sell an extra parcel of land that the city had at a savings, I should say at a $1 million loss to the city. Not really loss, but we sold the property for $1 million less than what we were offered, but we sold it to Seacoast so they would have a place to build 50 wells. I'm sorry, wells for 50 years. Why am I running? I was asked to run, just like Karen, you know, the people in the community asked me to run. I've been endorsed by both sides of the aisle. I've been endorsed by the business community because they see me as somebody that is business friendly. I do look for economic growth, not development, but economic growth. There's a big difference. When you work with businesses, they actually help lower the taxes in your community. So that is something that's very important to me. There are lots of boards and councils that we have with the county and with the city. As a matter of fact, I sit on probably 10 boards and councils through my role as a city council member. But I also am, I'll put on a couple more hats because city council is part-time. I am a real estate broker and endorsed by the realtors. I am a member of the Ladies Professional Golf Association. I am an athlete by trade. And I also am the executive director of the Jupiter Children's Foundation. So when people ask me if I have any children, which I was not able to have, my answer is always I have 120 because I'm on the board of the Edna W. Runner Tutorial Center for 120 at-risk kids. So that's a little bit about me. I am a budget person, so I'll be looking.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Turnquest, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you for hosting us. Good evening. My name is Calvin Turnquest, and I'm an immigrant from the Bahamas who entered America under the rule of law with the offer of a visa. My parents instilled in me conservative values guided by God, emphasizing love for a fellow man, sacrifice, diplomacy, and statesmanship. I'm a graduate of the University of Miami with multiple degrees in the sciences and a paramedic who now works at Jupiter and St. Mary's Medical Center. I served as councilman and vice mayor for the village of Turnquest, and I served on the Palm Beach County Board of League of Cities. I also served as chairman and a president of various nonprofits and boards throughout Palm Beach County. As a matter of fact, Maria and I served on one together. Listen, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm no one special. My story is not unique, but I promise you this, just as I am working hard in my campaign to earn every vote, should you elect me to serve, you will have the hardest working conservative on the board. Granted, probably the only conservative, but nonetheless, I will be the hardest working leader you wish to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidates, we are now going to move to the questions, and you will, if you choose to respond, you will have 1 minute for each of your responses. Here's the first question, and it will go to, the first question will go first to Vice Mayor Marino. Now, did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you.
Okay, and here's the question. There has been an unprecedented citizen response to police practices regarding excessive force, police brutality, and perceived bias against Black people in our country, following the deaths of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and many others. The County Commission provides funding for the Sheriff's Department. What is your position on body cameras, and would you advocate to provide funding to the Sheriff's Office to purchase both body-worn cameras?
Yes, I would. City of Palm Beach Gardens, our police procedure is on our website, so you can see what we do. I have been endorsed by the police. Body-worn cameras are something that came to the City of Palm Beach Gardens. There is an expense that comes along with them because they do need to be stored and the information recorded. But I do believe that body-worn cameras are essential. But I also believe that the proper training for all of our providers of police and fire is necessary. We have to know how to communicate with people, and we have to be able to be open-minded. That's only 35 seconds, but yes, I believe in body cameras. We have them in the City of Palm Beach Gardens. I do know that it is a funding issue for them. They are expensive, but I think they're worth it.
Councilman Turnquest, and I'm sorry I did not use your appropriate title to begin with. You have 1 minute. It's the same question. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, you don't. I fully understand the question. Let me preface this by saying this. I was raised by a police officer, my dad. My brother is law enforcement. I have 3 cousins and 2 uncles who are police officers. So I understand what they go through on a daily basis when they put on that uniform and that badge to go out and protect and serve us. That being said, I am supportive of an initiative to have body cameras on all law enforcement officers. What we see happening around the United States, it disturbs me. But what we cannot do is paint a broad brush over all law enforcement officers. We have some bad officers, but we have a lot of great ones. And what we cannot do is throw out the entire basket of apples because of one bad one. So I support body cameras 100%. And if the initiative come across the board, I'll definitely vote for it.
Commissioner Marcus.
Hi,
Same
thank
question.
you. Oh, sorry. Oh, I just lost you. I'm sorry. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
I'm sorry, I lost the picture. Let me just, I'll answer the question, then try to get back on. Yes, I
Okay,
do
fine, thank
support,
you.
I do support body cameras. I understand that Mayor Kerner has found $20 million out of the CARES funds that they are going to use to purchase the body cameras for the sheriff's office, and the sheriff is fully and completely supportive of that. And then the county would just from there on continue to budget for the storage and the other issues that come along with having body cameras.
Thank you. We're now going to move to the second question. And on this question, Councilman Turnquest, you will be first. And here's the question. The Palm Beach Post recently reported that the governor's recent cuts to the budget included $11 million that Palm Beach County was to receive for low-income housing. The question is, given the shortage of funding, how would you propose to fund and increase workforce and low-income housing in our county?
Very good question. And that's a difficult one for me to answer. How do we afford low-income housing in Palm Beach County?
Given that there have been these cuts, right?
These cuts. Well, I think if we have development coming in, I think that's one of the things we must put in as an initiative for developers in certain areas to make sure that a certain amount of their stock, their homes, are set aside for low-income housing or workforce housing. I don't like the term low-income housing, more like the workforce, because the working people need to have an affordable place to live here in Palm Beach County. So if any development comes across my desk, I will make sure to ask that some housing is set aside for working families.
Thank you, Councilman. Commissioner Marcus, same question, please.
Thank you. I support workforce housing. I think that though we cannot just rely on development, I think we have existing communities where people don't feel they're safe, or there needs to be some investment in the community to provide for the workforce housing. We did this in Cabana Colony and in Limestone Creek, where we went in and we put in community policing. We created what we call a community redevelopment district that gave them funds to make improvements into their communities. And they have all improved and become workforce housing that teachers and firefighters and others feel safe living in. I think along the coast, we need to look at communities where we can take existing housing and improve upon them and make so it's safer, people feel safer in there, which is what we have done in several communities in the North End. I think that development uses workforce housing sometimes to get approvals in inappropriate locations. So that cannot be our only tool in the box, if you will. I think we have to broaden it. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Marino, the same question. Do you need me to repeat it?
No, I'm good with the question.
Thanks.
Affordable housing is really important to all of us, and there are different ways to do it. Obviously, the requirements when there's a development for workforce housing is one. And as Calvin said, there are a lot of ways to say what it is. Is it workforce housing? Is it essential services housing? Is it low-income housing? I'd also really like to do an inventory of what's available. I know when I put my real estate hat on, we did this in the city, there actually were a lot more units available than people thought. So there has to be a better way to transmit to people what units are available. And policing and education is important too. People want to be in safe communities, so that is very important. Karen, that was a very good point. And we're all trying to get affordable housing in our district. So development, partnering with local communities, partnering with nonprofits to know what their needs are. There you go.
Thank you. We're now going to move to the third question. What initiatives would you propose to increase Black, minority, and female-owned business participation and awards of county contracts? And we'll start this question with Commissioner Marcus, please.
I believe the county commission just addressed this issue most recently, where they went ahead and they put, I don't want to call them set-asides, but they put performance criteria in there for county contracts, where certain small businesses, certain minority businesses had to be a part of that project. I know a lot of small businesses, whether they're minority or female owned or whatever, have a hard time getting financing from banks. I think they have set up a program through their economic development department where they can help work through those types of issues with them. But I believe they just adopted that. We had previously done the same thing. We had adopted a set aside like that where businesses and big contracts under a certain amount had to have local hires and had to have small businesses that were certified through the county. And we successfully achieved that. And then apparently that has gone by the wayside. So they just recently adopted that at the board level. And I would continue to support that.
Mary Jane? Frozen. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm having internet problems.
That's okay.
So,
Hopefully you heard the answer.
yes,
Okay,
thank you.
great.
But it's equally
Thank
as
you.
important for the rest of the audience to hear it as well. Thank you very much. So we were on question 3, and I believe Councilwoman or Vice Mayor, you're next.
Thank you.
For that, my pleasure.
Just a brief, something that we did in the city of Palm Beach Gardens just recently is we did an Economic Recovery Act, which we had a lot of our small businesses that were in trouble during COVID, and we actually took $1 million out of our Economic Development Fund to give emergency grants to the small businesses. But that doesn't answer your question. Your question is how do we get small businesses more involved, and how do we get more funding for them? And I think it's a partnership between the small businesses, the chambers, and the county, and looking for what the needs are and trying to be better partners. There are times where a big company may not be the answer because you need a little bit more personal service. And I just want people to speak up. That's the most important thing. We have a lot of people that don't really share their needs, and that's what we need to hear. And we need to have more of them come to county commission meetings and share their needs with us. And we need the commission to recognize them. And we really need to offer our services better than we do. The county does.
Thank you. And then Councilman Turnquest, the same question.
Okay, first thing I think we need to do is educate the public on what is available for minority, small business, women-owned businesses in the county, and also implement an initiative where we have some established business owners form mentorships so that they can bring on and guide the person who's starting their business on the path so that they can avoid some of the pitfalls that we or other business owners may have encountered. So I think working with a membership program, educating and making sure that education is available to small business owners or entrepreneurs who want to start their business. And also when we go to various boards and chambers around the county commission should be there to promote these initiatives and let them know that these programs are available for the public. So I think it starts with education, then mentorship, and then making these proposals available to the public.
That's very interesting, your answer, because we have a question from the audience, which I'll address to you first, but it builds on what you just said. What role do you believe the county has to work with the business community and the school district to bring new businesses to Palm Beach County and to ensure graduates are educated and prepared for those jobs of tomorrow? And again, you have 1 minute.
Well, when I graduated high school in the Bahamas, and one of the things we had in place was crafts. We had a section for auto mechanic, a section for carpenters, section for plumbers. So in our school system, we had these different programs so that when the kids graduate, if they aren't able to go to college, they have a skill set that they're certified in so that they can enter the workforce immediately. So I'd like to work with the school board to implement something like that. And also with the chambers, have businesses that can mentor people when they come out of high school or come up from college and be able to give them the skill and the experience necessary to enter the workforce with confidence.
Vice Mayor Marino, would you like to address this question from the audience?
Oh, sure. Economic development is something that's really important in our community. I mean, and the business, I've been endorsed by the Economic Development, the Economic Council and the BizPac. And the reason they did that is because I've been known to work with businesses and really listen to what they have to say. And we have to encourage businesses to be here because we need what they do. They bring jobs here, so we need to encourage that. They bring residents, they bring people that will be paying, tax dollars. And there are many ways to do it, but most importantly is you have to partner with them. And it's just, economic growth is so important for our community, but we have to do it in a smart manner because we have to make sure we don't overburden anybody. And we don't need four-year college degrees for every child. And we also need to work with the school board to make sure that they're getting those hands-on programs in high school and maybe a two-year college program. And that's really important for the kids. The kids need to learn an occupation that may not, some kids are not accountants. Some kids are not chemists. Some kids want to work with their hands and be an electrician or a welder. And those jobs are high-paying jobs, but they're just not being, there aren't enough kids or young persons in those classes right now in school. So we need to encourage that. And that is all education. That's, working with the chambers and the businesses and online presence. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Marcus, would you like to address this question from the audience?
Yes, thank you. We actually, the county does invest in the Business Development Board, who goes out and recruits companies or make sure that big companies that we have here that do pay high-paying jobs stay. When we recruited Scripps to come to Jupiter, Florida, that was one of the strong components of that bringing them here was the education to make sure that our students and our schools and our middle schools and high schools, Palm Beach State College did a whole science education wing that they did so that those kids could work under some of the scientists at Scripps, and that is functioning very well. So I think we need to continue to support the Business Development Board. Certainly local businesses make up the Business Development Board, and that's why the county helps to fund them to make sure we do that outreach. We do need trade schools also to make sure with some of these jobs that we do bring in or some of these businesses that we bring in, that we do have students that can do the trades because they are necessary. We hear a lot that we don't have enough of the tradesmen. I know Barbara McQuinn on the school board has been working to have a school up here in the North End where they can do trades, where it's not just college bound, but you can learn a trade and still make a nice, healthy living.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask my team members to be ready to step in because I am having consistent internet problems. So I think you have all the questions if you need to step in. We're now going to move to closing statements for these candidates. And again, your closing statement is 1 minute, and we'll start with Vice Mayor Marino, please.
Thank you. 1 minute. Maria
Yes,
Marino.
please.
I am running because I've been asked to run by both sides of the aisle. I would appreciate your vote. I have an open door policy. I am always looking for answers and I make decisions based on fact. I've been a leader in the community. I've been a long-term resident. I live here with my 85 and 88-year-old mom and dad. I'm not going anywhere. And I look forward to the next chapter of my life, which is being on County Commission. Thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you. Councilman Turnquest.
Thank you. This country has afforded me the honor to serve it once before and to give back to her which she has granted me, liberty and the pursuit of happiness. My journey began when I entered the United States of America in 1989. 13 years later, I earned my citizenship and I registered to vote. I chose the Republican Party. The guiding principles instilled in me by my parents of service to God, family, and country is what compels me to serve. I'm asking for the residents of Palm Beach County in District 1 to grant me the honor of serving them as their next county commissioner, because our journey isn't over yet, and I hope it won't stop here. My name is Calvin D. Turnquest, a Republican candidate for the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissioners for District 1, and I am asking for your vote on or before August 18th to be a next county commissioner.
Thank you. Commissioner Marcus.
Thank you very much, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of this tonight. The county's at a crossroads. We here are now facing the pandemic, an economic recovery that we're going to have to get out of. I think at this point in time, my leadership and my experience in being able to accomplish things in the county is very big. It has a lot of things that it does, and I won't have to be trained to get there. I know what to do when I get there. I know how to get projects completed, like I did with Scripps and Max Planck being there, like Roger Dean Stadium being in Jupiter, and many, many other projects that I would like to finish and complete. And so it's an open seat, and I decided, and I was asked because of my experience, to come back and help keep guiding us. This isn't about the last 20 years. This is about the next generation. When I first got elected, my girls were 6 and 4. I have 8 grandchildren, as I said, and so it was about their future before, and now it's about my grandkids' future. So I want to be a part of that. I want to make sure that the quality of life we continue to enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, very much for your participation tonight. I know everyone who's watching, and there are over 50 people watching tonight, really appreciate your input. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
We are now going to start the forum for the 2 Port of Palm Beach commissioner seats. And again, a little civics lesson about the Port of Palm Beach. The Port is an independent taxing district with a 5-member board of commissioners elected at large by voters within the district. The Port District covers a land area of 971 square miles, or approximately 50% of the Palm Beach County area. The Port is administered by an executive director and professional staff of 59. The Port of Palm Beach is the 4th busiest container port in Florida and the 18th busiest in the continental United States. The salary for the commissioners on the port is $9,500 annually. Group 2 and 3 are in this election, and we're going to do the groups separately. The candidates, so we'll do group 2 first. The candidates for group 2 are Katherine Waldron, the incumbent, and Peyton McArthur. And I want to thank you both for being very patient.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to start with opening statements, and just to repeat, your opening statement is 2 minutes, and the timer will tell you if you go past that 2-minute mark. So we shall start with opening statements, and Mr. McArthur, we'll start with your opening statement, please.
Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you for hosting this forum. It's very enlightening for all of us. My name again is Peyton McArthur. I was born and raised in South Florida. I went to the University of Florida where I started my civic activism. I volunteered on Ruben Askew's campaign to make government in the sunshine and financial disclosure part of the Florida laws. We all take it for granted now, but Ruben Askew had to fight the legislature tooth and nail to accomplish that. Since I got after college, I went to Washington, D.C. I worked at the Federal Election Commission before coming back home. I earned a Master's of Arts in Public Administration from the University of Florida, and I worked in local government. I then worked for 4 years. I'm sorry, let me start at the beginning. I then worked at the Port of Palm Beach as Director of Human Resources for 7 years before serving on the Board of Commissioners for 4 years. I have a unique background and experience in the Port of Palm Beach. I look forward to serving it again. I believe Ms. Waldron and we have comparable education. I have a little more experience at the port. We disagree on a couple of very important issues, but I think either of us would be an asset to the Board of Commissioners. And I look forward to meeting more of you and having your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Waldron, you have 2 minutes for your opening statement, please.
Thank you. My name's Katherine Waldron, and I'm finishing up my first term at the port. I'm running for re-election in Group 2 now. I was born, a little bit about my background. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and have my BA from the University of Virginia and my MBA from Palm Beach Atlantic. I've been in the business world my entire adult life. I was an executive at some Fortune 50 companies, and I helped co-found and start up small businesses. I currently, aside from being port commissioner, I'm also a co-owner of some aquaculture oyster ranches up in McCullough County. I'm running for re-election because I want to continue to bring my business experience to the dais. The port is a major economic driver for our community. It's responsible for more than 3,000 jobs, and they're high-paying jobs. So it's important that we have business experience up on the dais to help guide our tenants and to govern the port. I also am running because I want to protect our environment. Our channel is right next to one of the top snorkeling places in the world. The tourist industry is the largest industry in South Florida, and our environment is precious to us. So we want to make sure that we protect that environment by not doing any unnecessary dredging, which is different, of course, from the maintenance dredging that we need to do. I also have a passion for community service, and I believe that the port is a jewel for us. And when I co-founded Palm Beach County Cares a few years ago to help with the Hurricane Maria victims from Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, we were able to showcase the port when the port allowed us to have warehouse space and helped us with logistics. And we, as a result, were able to get more than 200,000 pounds of supplies over to Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So I'm running to continue my experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to move to the questions. And just as a reminder, each of your answers will be 1 minute. And here's the first question. And this one will go to, I think, Mr. McArthur first. According to the Business Development Board, the Board of Palm Beach and its tenants, the Port of Palm Beach and its tenants combined are one of the largest employers in Palm Beach County. Approximately 2,400 people are employed directly and indirectly through the port, which contributes $260 million in business revenue and $12 million in state and federal taxes. How have you, or would you, do if elected to ensure more Black or minority residents are employed by the port and award contracts to Black and minority-owned businesses? Mr. McArthur?
Okay. Well, first off, I would, you have to change the culture. One of the ways you would do that is every time a contract comes up for the dais, you should ask that question: how many minority workers do you have? How many workers do you have from Riviera Beach? If they know every time that's important to us and that's what we're going to consider, then it becomes important to them. There's only so much land at the port. If we can have equal value and one company is going to be more responsive to the needs of the community than another company, well, then that's the company we should choose. One of the things I had worked on before was,
I'm sorry, Mr. McArthur.
No, that's fine.
Commissioner Waldron?
Thank you. Yes, I think it's very important. Diversity is very important to the port. In fact, our executive director is probably the only Hispanic executive director for a port in the country. We do focus on diversity. I think it's always important to be as proactive and not reactive. So in terms of when contractors come in front of us, I always ask if they're based here, because I think it's important that the jobs that they're going to bring to the port are local, and I've been a big proponent of that. I also, once I got on the port, I co-founded with a good friend of mine the COMTO, which is the Conference on Minority Transportation Officials. And that's a way to help promote some of our transportation industry officials and help promote diversity and minority focus there. I've also been a big proponent of trying to get an inland port out in the Glades, which would, of course, help with job growth there. And that's very important. So diversity is important.
Thank you, Commissioner. And now we're going to go to the second question. How would you handle a situation where a ship is diverted to the Port of Palm Beach that may contain passengers that would risk the county's health, safety, or welfare. And Commissioner, we'll start with you with this one.
Sure. We work very closely with a lot of organizations and that are have a stake in this. So if there were to be a cruise ship or a cargo ship that needed to come here because of the virus, we would work with the CDC, obviously, also the Coast Guard, and the TSA, and then of course the local emergency entities to make sure that everybody, our community is first of all very safe, but we're also taking care of the people on the ship as much as possible. We have had instances where people have employees at our tenants have tested positive. A notice immediately has gone out to everybody, letting them know that whole area is being cleaned, and that the other people that have been around that person are being tested, and that the person who tested positive is being quarantined. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McArthur, same question.
Yes, ma'am. Well, basically, I agree with Ms. Waldron. She's absolutely correct. The key is communication. The port has a very good communication network with the Coast Guard, the CDC, and other agencies. It would not be, the plans are already in effect and they have been for some time. All they have to do is be implemented. But the key is communication and transparency so everyone knows what is happening and what we need to address it. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. I do not see any questions in the chat. So we're going to move to closing statements. And just as a reminder, you have one minute. And we're going to start closing statements with Commissioner Waldron, please.
Thank you. Again, thank you for hosting this and for allowing us to have a platform to speak. I just want to reiterate that I'm looking forward to having a second term where I can continue to promote the business of the port, showcase it as the jewel that it is, but also make sure that we're protecting our environment. I have been endorsed by many organizations, including the unions, the firefighters, the Human Rights Council, Congresswoman Frankel, Congressman Hastings. I've also been endorsed by HISPAC, the Hispanic PAC, and many mayors and vice mayors throughout this the district, which includes 17 municipalities. So I'm looking forward to a second term. I hope you will consider voting for me. Katherine Waldron, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. McArthur, your closing statement, please, and you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Well, first on the inland port. The inland port is really a non-starter. The port looked at that 10 years ago. To make an inland port viable, you need land, you need to extend the railroad, and you need materials, exports to transport. The Port of Palm Beach has none of those. It would make sense for the Port of Miami or Port Everglades to buy land in the Glades and do that. But it's not a complete waste of time for the Port of Palm Beach. As far as dredging goes, if dredging was going to destroy the snorkeling area, then the snorkeling area wouldn't be there because there was major dredging in the past. Right now, the port turned away a ship from tropical because of draft restrictions. This is something commissioners have to address. If the port is to remain economic viable, we cannot merely put our heads in the sand. We have to be proactive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, both of you candidates, very much for being with us tonight. And we are now going to move to group 3. And the candidates are Commissioner Jean Enright, who's the incumbent, and Mr. Clarence Williams. I've been informed that Ms. Enright has not signed into our Zoom conference tonight. So we're going to give Mr. Williams an opportunity to have his opening statement for 2 minutes. You need to unmute yourself.
There.
Good.
Thank you so very much for hosting this event. It is certainly one that is going to be well received throughout the community, and certainly any educational opportunity and platform to educate voters is always a good thing. So we applaud organizations that do that. My name is Clarence Williams, and I'm a candidate for Palm Beach County Commission Group 3. I have lived in Florida for the past 20 years. I have served many years in public service, the last 16 of which as the police chief for the city of Riviera Beach. I also practiced law for 8 years in the areas of civil rights and employment law. I currently sit on 3 major nonprofit boards here in the county, and they range in terms of service from healthcare to education to athletic endeavors. We are running for the Port of Palm Beach because we believe that port districts were created by the legislature to be economic engines for the entire district, not simply the footprint that many of us know the port to be, situated in Riviera Beach and northern West Palm Beach. The port district is bounded on the south by Southern Boulevard from the ocean to Lake Okeechobee, and on the north by Donald Ross Road from that same ocean to Lake Okeechobee. Within that district, port authorities were created to be economic development engines for the entire region. We're working hard to expand the economic impacts of the port so that it's felt throughout the entire region and not simply within the footprint where it is contained. The land.
Thank you. As I said, and it's important for the audience to know, Commissioner Enright has not signed into our candidate forum tonight, but I am going to go ahead and ask the 2 questions to Mr. Williams. So Mr. Williams, we'll give you the same time frame that we gave to all the other candidates. You'll have 1 minute to respond to the questions, okay?
Certainly.
Okay, so here we go. What specific knowledge and experience do you bring to this position that would assist with or increase the port's economic stability?
Well, I bring over 40 plus years of public service. I bring business experience. I bring leadership experience. I bring experience in port security. I helped develop the port security plan when in 2003, the Homeland Security Act was passed. We were instrumental in the development of the security plan to meet the criteria that were set by the passage of that act. We bring a vast wealth of understanding of the concept of port authority districts and why they were created. We've seen them work in other communities. We see our port transforming the waterfront near and around it, transforming the waterfront in the Western communities, building an inland port, building a world-class aquarium, ending the cruise ship to nowhere, and providing business and job opportunities as we grow and flex the economic muscle of the port, consistent with its purpose and why it was designed.
Thank you. We're going to do 1 more question, okay?
Certainly.
According to the Business Development Board, the Port of Palm Beach and its tenants combined are one of the largest employers in Palm Beach County. Approximately 2,400 people are employed directly and indirectly through the port, which contributes $260 million in business revenue and $12 million in state and federal taxes. How have you, or what would you do if elected, to ensure more Black or minority residents are employed by the port and award contracts to Black and minority-owned businesses? And again, you have 1 minute.
Well, in my professional career, we've led by example in terms of creating diversity. The law enforcement agency that I've led for 16 years was one of the most diverse law enforcement agencies throughout the county. It all starts at the top. As an elected official, you are a policymaker. And so I would insist that our policies are one of inclusion, and we would not only say and suggest inclusion, we would establish benchmarks for creating and establishing that. I know that there are many such programs already in existence. I know that the executive director currently at the port supports inclusion and is no stranger to its efforts. I would simply lend my talents that I've garnered from my 40+ years in my law practice to make certain that the jobs from top to bottom in the port that are leaded are reflective of the community that they serve, that we live in.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Would you like to make a closing statement for 1 minute?
Well, certainly I would. I thank you again for this opportunity. I thank your listeners for listening to us. My opponent has been in office for 16 years, and they want to be there for now 20 years. I applaud and thank my opponent for her 16 years of service, but it is now time for a change. It is now time for us to have fresh ideas. It's now time for our port to be the economic engine that it was created and designed to be. Contrary to Mr. Peyton, building a world-class aquarium is one of my goals. The other is constructing and leading the discussions on the inland port in the Glades communities. Look, I've had and been endorsed by the 3 mayors in those communities, and to the mayor, they don't believe that an inland port is a non-starter. They don't believe that the discussion is dead. Quite to the contrary. All we need is leadership from that giant economic engine that creates over $260 million in revenue. Thank you so very much. Clarence Williams, August primary. I need your vote and support. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank all of the candidates that were with us tonight. This is the end of our candidate forum. I thank you for your service. I thank you for willing to serve our community. And before we go, I would just like, and I hope I don't have to remind you of this, but that voting is the most important civic responsibility that we have. And this election year, we're asking everyone to consider voting by mail. It's safe, it's secure, there's no postage needed to return. You can call the Supervisor of Elections office to apply for a vote by mail ballot. Thank you very much from all of us on the team tonight. Thank you for watching, and good luck to all of the candidates in the forthcoming election. Good night.
Thank you.